Our guest this morning is Gor Semalang'o. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you.
Good to have you. And sorry about the slight incident that you had as you were coming this way. But you're well?
I'm well.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, let's start as a person of interest, first of all, by just letting us know where you came from, where you grew up, and just a bit of your history.
Okay. I grew a bit of when I started out, I grew up in Kisumu and then later came to Nairobi. So, but I was born in Uganda. Then Kisumu, a bit of Kisumu.
But your parents are Kenyan?
Yes, my parents are Kenyan.
Okay. And while you were growing up, what did you aspire to be?
Oh, very interesting. I used to love soldiers, so I wanted to be a military officer. Yeah, that's what I wanted to be when I was young. I used to admire seeing the parades, guys marching, and that's what I wanted to be.
Why didn't you go into that? What changed you?
What changed? I actually wanted to go. I ended up in NYS, like many young people who, we call it misplaced ambition, you know. You wanted to be a pilot, but you ended up being a matatu driver. You still ferry people anyway, and they still call you a pilot. But as I was waiting, to go to university, I was told by my cousin who was in the military that you could join NYS as you wait. So I went, and when I went through that rigorous process of training, and then I lost interest. Yes. Okay, so somewhere along the line, when after you lost interest, what did you now want to do? No, just I proceeded with the other things, and I said, now let me pursue business, because most of our family members were not employed, so most of them were doing business, including my mother and my father. Okay. Yes. Married, children? I choose to keep my private life private. Okay, that's not something you'd want to comment about. No. I always say those who know you know who you are. They know. But would there be anything wrong in declaring that No. I think I decided it's a decision I've made that I will always keep my private life private and public life public. Okay. Yes. So that you'd consider as private. Yes. All right. We do know that you had political ambitions at some point. How did that go? Yes, I did. I did after when I left Youth Fund, and in a very acrimonious manner, and many young people, I used to help when I was at the fund. As you know, I was not earning a salary, so they told me, why don't you come? There was an opening. Why don't you come so that we will be able to elect you as our member of parliament? Unfortunately, at the time I wanted to do that, there was this law about 60, is it 6 months? You must have left the public service 6 months before election. And so Orange Democratic Party then, took me to court. Took me to IBC, and then it went to court, saying I cannot run for this election because I left public service less than 6 months. So it was interesting. We went battled it in court, and unfortunately my lawyers couldn't win that case, and we were time barred. We couldn't go for appeal. By the time we were going for appeal, the judgment was delayed, the paperwork was delayed, so the elections were there, and it was conducted. So, but later, I'm happy that another judge, different judge, ruled that that part of the law was inconsistent. And he said to the extent of that inconsistency, therefore, that law should be declared null and void. Okay. But injustice was already meted on my part. On your part. Yes. All right. Now, let's also talk about the Youth Fund and what led to your being, to leave, like you call it, acrimoniously. Yes. It's something that I haven't talked about for a very long time, and I chose not to. But I think we had, it was acrimonious because we had differences with the then cabinet secretary in charge of devolution and planning. Anne Waiguru, and for many other reasons. But I'm happy, you know, part of the things I told her, when we had those exchanges, I told her, you know, this is public office, and basically we serve on behalf of the public. And for me, I viewed that position as giving back to society, and we needed, you know, to serve the public diligently, and she didn't need to, you know, I mean, treat other public servants with contempt and disrespect.
You think she treated you with contempt and disrespect?
Not only me. I mean, people are.
Now
keeping,
let's talk about you, since it's you who is here.
And
in what way did she treat you with?
No, she was very bad mannered in the way she conducted the affairs of the ministry, then and it was absolutely.
When you say bad mannered, what do you mean?
I mean,
that's a very vague term, and of course, bearing in mind she's not here to defend herself.
Yes.
What is it? That
no, these were things that, you know, some of the exchanges were before public officers, so it was not a secret. You know, these were issues which I mean, she should ask you to do certain things which were not ethically correct, and these were issues which were raised before other public officers who were present, and therefore, when I say bad mannered, it is just the way people should conduct themselves in public office. Okay. But I think that is now history. I think. Like,
before we move on from there, were you proud of your tenure when you are, you know, overseeing the youth fund?
Yes, very, very proud. Very proud.
What are some of the gains you would say that were made while you were there?
I removed the money from the banks, because the money was in banks for onward lending to young people, and I found that not working. So therefore, worked with the team at the Youth Fund to ensure that we remove this money from the banks and lend directly to young people, and create several, you know, youth loan products, including for music and for drama, and helping lobby the government to ensure that some equipment in film, and also the 60% I mean, content on TV. So I am very happy about my service at the fund, and I worked with many young people, and I'm very happy.
Okay. All right, let's now move on to, because of time, football in Kenya.
Yes.
And you're one who is aspiring to take football to another level. First of all, what makes you feel that you have the capacity to help football in Kenya?
It is given my experience, because I've been in youth leadership for a long time. I mean, apart from Youth Fund, I actually chaired the National Youth Council, which brought about the National Youth Policy, and we lobbied Parliament to enact a National Youth Council. I was chairing that process, and then the President, then Kibaki, enacted it, signed it into law, and therefore I have a lot of experience. I was also part of the National Youth Service Recovery Task Force that actually came up with all this, most of the programs you see, which was later changed by Mutai Ngunyi to 5-point program. And so, having worked with the youth, I basically understand their needs and their potential, and what needs to be done to tap that potential. So I have been supporting football. I actually also played football. When many people don't know that, and I have been in football affairs for many years, but in terms of also supporting financially. So what made me get into this race was basically, you know, as chairman of Reunion Football Club, or even when I was patron, you have to, you know, you pay the referees every Saturday, you pay the coaches, you pay the referee, you pay for the field, you pay security, and then you ask yourself, what does a federation do? I mean, I kept on, and I hear they get money from FIFA, and they don't pay referees, they don't pay their field, they don't pay security.
So what is it that you would bring on board that would revolutionize? You'd first of all agree with me that football in Kenya needs a lot of help.
It needs.
Where are we going
It
wrong?
needs help. Actually, many of my friends ask me why you want to get into that kind of mess, and I said, at least there should be some Kenyans who can say, let me get into the mess and sort it out. And basically, there are two problems in the federation. One, basically, is they are not able to mobilize resources because of the people leading the federation. They do not have the credibility required for them to lead the federation. So, so number two, even the resources they get, they squander the resources. And the resources do not reach the intended recipients. And that has been a major concern among the stakeholders. So, I mean, if anybody who has a club or who is an official of a club, you must do fundraising to be able to ensure that the players are paid, the coaches are paid, the referees are paid, the football, everything is paid from people's pocket.
From people's pockets. Now,
yes.
You've mentioned the stakeholders.
Yes.
And largely it has been seen stakeholders would view you
yes.
as an outsider coming into football, given that there is, they would look at it as though, you know, you don't have experience in that particular field. What makes you think you'd be able to mobilize and have the stakeholders support you as the one on the helm?
You don't have a private sector background because I'm a businessman. So, I mean, what is required in football is to mobilize resources that will be able to facilitate the players, the managers of football to do what is needed to be done. And that is what I bring on the table. Too, it needs good administrative skills. Somebody who understands that football can be business. And that's why I decided to jump in there and provide that administrative leadership required to transform how soccer is viewed. It is a big-time business in Europe and elsewhere. It is only here in Kenya that, you know, the people play football and they pay to play football. They are not paid to play football.
Okay.
Yes.
So would you view as football in Kenya, do you think it's only the business angle that is lacking? I think there's a lot more than just the business.
There's the social, but you see, this is an area that can be used to spur potential among the young people and bring communities together, I mean, and reduce crime. So, and the Jubilee government had initiated, you know, building of stadiums and making sure that we have a national betting system, sports betting, that will be able to mobilize resources as well. So that, for me, it's an opportunity to be able to mobilize resources to help the government reduce crime in terms of engaging young people in activities that would be beneficial to their health, and also as an economic activity that will be income generating to them.
Okay.
So that's how I see it.
Okay.
And once we are able to organize that, then everything will go right.